So again, thank you all for joining. Today, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to learn a little bit more about some of the global and public affairs virtual internship opportunities for this upcoming summer 2021. As I've mentioned through many of my communications via email, obviously our goal is to have students go in person this upcoming summer. However, because of the different, travel restrictions, health and safety, we're still making a final decision. And so we wanted you to learn a little bit more about what a virtual internship might look like. What are the benefits of doing a virtual internship? What are the types of internships you might, be doing and types of tasks you could be doing? And so we thought it'd be a great opportunity to learn a little bit more. So I'm going to send it over to Tyler now, but please note at the end, we'll have opportunity to ask questions. So it'll be pretty casual, so feel free at that point to unmute yourself and chat. But Tyler will be chatting for the next 20 or so minutes, so you can get a little bit of an overview of the program.
Thank you, Andrew, and welcome to everybody. Hope you're well. Happy Friday. I believe I actually spoke to both of you at some point during the advising session for the Ho Chi Minh City program. So I'm excited to have some time to speak to you about, like Andrew was saying, the virtual options. If you see by this kind of title slide, we have CRCC Asia, which is our organization that supports the in-person internships. And then our sister company is actually very creatively called Virtual Internships. We're not the same agency, but we are kind of under the same founders. So basically, depending on if you end up in the in-person program or the virtual option, that's just kind of which agency will be working with you. So again, I'm thrilled to talk to you about some of the opportunities with the global and public affairs sector within the virtual internships. And so we're going to first talk a little bit about, first of all, why would somebody do a virtual option? We think about this past year and how literally every university went remote for remote learning. And it was very similarly the case for a lot of companies in all areas of the world. So basically anybody who, wasn't essential and needed to be in person pretty much went remote. And so while this past year really increased the remote working options in the world, this is actually something that has been around for many years, especially for certain fields like, say, IT, for example, where you can work as an IT professional from anywhere and still perform your job very well. And we actually do find that to be the case with a lot of these organizations we're going to talk about in this slideshow. So we'll talk about that. I'll also give you some examples of previous internships that we have hosted in the realm of the global and public affairs, because we want you to get an idea about, if you do enroll in this program, what could that look like virtually. So without further ado, again, appreciate you being here. And I want to first off give you some background into why would a student like yourself, a student in college, complete a virtual internship? What are the advantages, and how is this something that could give you a good boost in terms of your employability and your potential career prospects? So I give 4 main examples for this. And the first one is allowing you the ability to gain remote working skills. When we talk about working remotely, if you think about what it is, right? Working from home or from your bedroom or your kitchen table, it is, of course, different than being in person. And I'm sure all of you, since you've done remote learning, know exactly what I mean by that. So when you're not in an office physically, there's a lot of things you have to kind of do differently and be a lot more on top of. One of which is something like being proactive. Being proactive is a great skill that translates to any field. It's something that you kind of are forced to learn through working remotely. If you run into an issue during your remote internship, you have a question, you have to take the initiative to reach out to your supervisor. They're not going to be right next to you where you can just tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, I have a question. So being proactive is a big one. Staying motivated is another one. For some people working from their bedroom, there's all these distractions, there's more exciting things, there's Netflix. Staying on task, staying focused on what you have to complete, managing that time, sticking to deadlines. These are all great skills that you would build through remote working and could really be something that is setting yourself up for success by building these now in college before you enter into the work field, and then you already have a bit of a leg up when it comes time for you to enter the workforce. So the second one is global networking and gaining a global network more specifically. You've all probably heard of that term, networking, getting to meet people in your field, learn from them, be mentored by them, share experiences. And also when you think of networking, you think about knowing people who can offer you jobs, right? So the same is for a virtual internship. And I always tell students that if you're somebody who's done several internships in your home country, for example, the next best step in your professional journey would be to do an international internship remotely. The reason for that is because it's good to expand your network outside of your home country. If you are somebody, especially in this realm, the global and public policy with a lot of international emphasis in that field, you could say, I've always wanted to live in Vietnam. I see myself moving there. I have family there. I just want to go move into Vietnam or China or Japan after college. It would be a good idea for me to start building my network in that specific country so that when I get there, I actually know some people. That's a great benefit of this remote program and one that we always try to share with students. Another one is tangibly, this is a professional experience. So this is something that you're going to work on for several months this summer and actually add to your resume, or what's called a CV in other countries. So being able to put a remote international internship is something that's going to really stand out a lot on your resume. When you graduate and you are in a field that is potentially very competitive, there's a lot of other people who've studied similar things, who've also got great leadership opportunities. They've also done a lot of clubs. They've also done really well in school. You basically need to do everything in your power to make your particular application and your resume stick out. One of the ways you can do that is by adding a remote international work experience to that resume and just kind of give it that competitive edge. The last one we talk about, something you might not have thought about actually, is flexible work and the schedule that comes along with working remotely. So depending on where your company is located, let's say you're matched with a company in Vietnam, for example, remotely, or China or Japan, chances are you're not going to be working that kind of typical 9 to 5 that you would be in an office. The reason for that is because of the time difference. It wouldn't make sense for you to work 9 to 5 when 9 a.m. for you is 9 p.m. for where your company's located. So we like to try to talk about this program as being very flexible. We have a lot of other universities we work with who actually facilitate a virtual internship during their semester. So students, in addition to classes, would take, say, a 10 or 20 hour a week internship. It's something that you could do this summer alongside a part-time job. If you're also doing online courses and you want to try to fit an internship into that, this is a great option for that because you can complete a lot of the work on your own time. And aside from the kind of live calls you have with your supervisor and like team meetings, a lot of the work would be done kind of alongside your schedule and something that you and your supervisor would talk about when you start working. So again, the list is not conducive to just those 4, but I like to kind of bring those up as the main reasons I think about why you would want to do this program, why it's beneficial. So let's give some background into our program. First of all, what does it look like? So interestingly enough, virtual internships, although this remote work has become really popular this past year, we've actually been doing these programs since 2018. So we do like to claim that we had a little bit of a leg up on some of the other organizations that are fostering remote work. And so because of that, we've actually now hosted just over 1,500 interns globally. And as we've done that, we've been able to kind of identify what are some of the areas in which students do struggle and how could we build our program around those areas and basically offer the best support. So any student enrolled in our program does have several touch points for people that they can go to for questions. The first that's actually not listed on here is your company supervisor. So you're going to be matched with a company anywhere in the world, in Asia, and you're going to have a direct supervisor. That's the person who you're talking to every single day, at least once a week on a video call, and they're giving you your tasks at the company. There's also other touch points outside of just your company from virtual internship side that help you kind of through the program. The first is the intern experience manager. You can think about this like your day-to-day advisor, basically. Any questions you have about your company, you're confused, you forgot to submit one of the weekly checkpoints, that's going to be your intern experience manager. They check in with you every single day, and they're really there to guide you through the entire program from literally the minute you submit your application until your program ends. There's an internship coach who you actually will only be connecting with twice during the internship. The first is at the midpoint, which is what we call the midpoint call. And this is to kind of talk about your progress so far, if you've had any struggles, what are your highlights of the program so far, kind of setting the tone for that next half of the internship. You'll also then connect with them at the end of the program to talk about the full experience and kind of set some goals for the future. We also want students to not only connect with our staff, but other interns, right? So from UCLA, there will be other interns on the virtual program, as well as all of our other university partners. So we want to help you guys kind of connect with one another and share experiences. So one of the ways we do this is through group discussions. We have a Slack channel, and every week we have one of our team members lead a series of guided discussions with our interns on a variety of topics. Maybe we share a relevant article. We have students share their current week and what they're working on, how they're doing. And then we also have separate channels that are just the interns to share their own advice or challenges or just kind of lead their own discussions. We also then have some webinars. So typically every other week, we'll do a formal webinar with one of our guest speakers to share their experience from the field, and have somebody from the field of global policy, for example. So as you can see, great deal of support. You will have a lot of people there kind of in your corner to help you, through the program, and we hope that you feel supported really every step of the way. The last kind of thing to touch on quickly for support is what we call Career Bridge. And Career Bridge is very simply our virtual internships' kind of own curriculum. So very similar to like a university course, actually. We knew that with some students, not only do they want to work practically in their internship, they also would like to kind of work on their professional development, whether that means building their resume and kind of making it better, getting better at interviewing, learning about some different countries' business cultures. That is really what Career Bridge was made for. So it's essentially a collection of different videos, modules, courses to teach you a lot of different things around professionalism. It's really beneficial, especially let's say you end up with a company in Vietnam and you're about to start your remote internship with them, but you know nothing about Vietnamese working culture. What's the hierarchy? How do they communicate? That's what Career Bridge would help you with. It would basically help you learn about that prior to the internship. And there's also modules to be completed during the internship as well. So career fields and how this internship placement will essentially work. And to kind of, hopefully this isn't too confusing, but applying for this program, you're not applying for just one internship, right? You're basically applying for the overall kind of umbrella of the global and public policy and global affairs. So in doing so, you would actually be choosing one of these 18 career fields that is kind of the focus of what you want your internship to basically be focused on. So there's a few that kind of pertain particularly to this realm. And the first and most obvious one would be this one, the international development, NGO, and charities. So you think about nonprofits, you think about large non-governmental organizations, policy institutes, think tanks, things like that. I'll actually give you some examples in a few slides about some specific companies in this sphere. Another very popular one would be legal, your law firms, potentially your embassies. And another great one would be the environmental field within green technology and sustainability and environmental. So these are your sustainability organizations focusing on water management, waste management, renewable energy. There's kind of the very engineering heavy part of this particular field, but then there's the more NGO and nonprofit side of the environmental. Another one that's pretty relevant too could be urban planning and architecture, which is also pretty popular within Vietnam. So you'd basically be picking one of these for your placement, and that's essentially how we would go about narrowing down your internship prospects. So a little bit about us and virtual internships and how we basically gather these companies. How does it work? How do we match you with a suitable internship? Well, you can think about virtual internships as kind of having this very large network of global companies. So we operate across those 18 career fields that I just showed you. And in total, we partner with more than 3,500 companies all around the world. A huge majority of them are focused in the region of Asia. So places like China, South Korea, Indonesia, Singapore, Japan. A large majority of them are in what we would call the small to medium range and even startups. So anywhere from 5 to 100 or 5 to 50 employees. We do have some very large multinationals as well, but the chances are it will be a small to medium sized company for your internship. And so we actually work to then match you with internships in our network aligned with your major and your kind of interests for the program. And I'll explain that a little bit more in our next slide, actually, what we call the linear placement process. And so if you think of any questions as I explain the slide, I want you to just write it down. Again, Andrew was saying we're going to take some questions at the end because this is a little bit hard to explain. So I'm going to do my best. So when you are enrolled in our program and you apply through UCLA and you get approved and we then receive all your information and you're 100% moving forward with the program, at that point, we can start sending your information out to our partner companies and working to get you a placement for the June 21st start date. So the way that that's going to work is we basically put together a profile of you based on your career field selection, as we said in the previous slide, your resume, your previous experience, and also what you're going for. So let's say, for example, you decide on the international development, NGO, and charity career field. You're very interested in the realm of sustainability, environmentalism, education even, and those are kind of your number one top choices for your internship. So our team will kind of think, okay, well, we've got some great environmental nonprofits out of Vietnam. We've got a few sustainability nonprofits in Cambodia. We have a company in Japan that focuses specifically on education for children. Let's reach out to them and let's kind of see if there's interest. So we would do that. We would send your profile out to some companies, and eventually a company would get back to us, which is essentially this step right here. Host company expresses interest. We would then work with you and the company to set up a virtual video interview, in which basically, if you've done an interview before, it pretty much serves two main functions. The first is on the company's end. They want to have a chance to talk to you, share what opportunities they might have available, and basically learn from you, what are your skills, and do they like your attitude? Do they like your motivation? And do they think that you would be a good intern for their company this summer? Now, on the other end, for you, we want you to get a chance to actually speak to the company, learn about what opportunities are they offering. Is this something that if you were made an offer, would you accept it? Would you join this company this summer? So the interview would conclude, and we basically ask for feedback on both ends. Again, we want to ask you, did you like the interview? Did it seem cool? And again, if you were made an offer, would you be accepting it? Then on the company's end, we have to ask them if they're going to be making an offer. So just because you interview with a company does not mean 100% you're going to be placed with them. Every student going through this program is guaranteed an internship placement within their career fields that they select. You are not guaranteed any specific company. So you could do an interview and with the first company and it might not just be a good match. We just have to basically keep looking. So the result of the interview basically goes three ways. The first is the company loved you, they want to offer you the position, and then you are absolutely over the moon and say, I love this company, I want to go ahead and accept that offer. We're basically then confirming your placement, and you are now set with your company to start on June 21st. The second route that this could go is the company says, you know what, we actually interviewed a few more people, and we're going to end up offering it to another applicant, in which case you are not out of luck. It's not like you're out of the program now. You got one shot. We basically just keep looking. We move along to the next opportunity. That's one of the benefits of having such a large network that we do. We've got tons of other options in pretty much any area. So if the first one doesn't work out, either the company didn't offer you a position or you just aren't about it, we're going to move on to the next opportunity. The third way that that could go, the interview process, is you get an offer, but you say, you know what, this is just really not at all what I want to do. I'm just really not into it. Is there any way that I can maybe decline the offer and move to the next opportunity? Yes, that is absolutely the case. We can do that. What we're not going to do is you will never have more than one offer given to you at once, and then you're going to just pick your favorite one. Basically, the point of the linear placement process is a horizontal line. One company interview, potentially making you an offer, you either accept and we're confirmed, or you say no, we move to the next opportunity, just kind of moving down the line. So that's how that's going to work. Again, every student is guaranteed a placement. Some will be placed more or earlier than others. Everybody will be placed by that start date in June. So with the placements, what does that look like? Probably the number one question we always get, what does an internship remotely look like in the global affairs kind of NGO realm? So I'm going to give you 5 examples. And what you'll learn in these 5 examples is that although they are all within the same exact career field, which is international development, NGO, and charities, you'll notice how they're all incredibly different. And I think I said this earlier, but you're not applying to just one internship. You're applying for an overall career field. And then there's a bunch of different kind of subsectors within that career field that you could be placed in. So I'll give you 5 examples. The first one is a company out of Shanghai, China called the Women in Leadership League. They are basically a kind of social enterprise seeking to promote equality within the genders in like business landscape and also female empowerment. And so as you can see by this chart here, they're looking for an accounts and development intern to do a few different tasks. The first is planning some of the events that the organization is going to host in China and elsewhere. So getting to work on your event planning, learning about how social enterprise creates event ideas, how do they then promote them, how do they get the word out? How do they promote other different topics and articles on their website, getting to write some of those articles, doing interview pieces with different professionals in the industries, and also helping to maintain the relationships between the organization and some of their stakeholders, which would be their volunteers, their donors, things like that. So you not only would get a chance to do some of the promotion and the event planning, but also the management of the company's network. So that could be very interesting for those interested in this kind of social entrepreneurship end of things. The next one is a very, very, very large NGO, a nonprofit out of India called the Council of Energy, Environment, and Water. For anybody interested in environmental policy, this is literally right where you would probably want to be. What they basically do is they use a lot of research data and different like outreach initiatives to essentially look at the use, the misuse, and the reuse of resources in different countries. So they're an enormous, enormous non-for-profit. And in addition to doing that research, they also put together policy recommendations. So anybody who's ever wanted to look at environmental policy, not only researching it, not only tracking market developments, but also putting together like reports for the research, putting it into different, basically, again, research reports on all these different topics here. So clean energy, sustainability, pollution, things like that. You also will then assist with program implementation and writing policy recommendations. So that could be very interesting if you have always wanted to see how do big think tanks and big organizations put forth policy and what type of research and planning goes into that. This could be right in your alley. The next opportunity is also in kind of the green sustainability sphere. So this is the Greeneration Foundation out of Indonesia. They are a large NGO focused on promoting waste management. And Indonesia is a pretty unique country for this because, as you may or may not know, it is surrounded by pretty much coastline on all sides. So they have quite a bit of water pollution. So as you can see in this photo, things washing up on the shore. And that's basically their main kind of focus area. So looking for a research intern to basically produce a variety of sustainability reports on different industries. So maybe you're looking at different policy or different kind of fines and things that are around water pollution and what are the water pollution rates by different countries in Southeast Asia, for example, helping to manage their database. So similar to one of the other examples, helping to kind of communicate with the donors, the volunteers, their partners, and any other contacts that might be within their kind of stakeholder flow of relationships. So also getting to speak with some of the people who the organization works with. And then the last one is policy research. So you'd be undergoing a variety of research reports looking at the current policy related to water pollution in Southeast Asian countries. So I did actually mention that. So this is a good combination of research, policy writing, reporting, and also stakeholder communications. This is a unique organization out of Cambodia. They focus on families in rural villages and basically helping them to achieve like self-sustainability. So they build wells, they do education, they teach people how to kind of live on their own and not have to rely on aid from the government. So it's a really unique one. This is more of kind of a campaign and marketing type of role. So promotion, as you guys probably have thought about, any of these NGOs or policy institutes or anything like that, they all have to get the word out about their organization, right? And if nobody knows about it, they're not going to do any good work because no one's going to give them money. So basically, a big part of this internship would be helping to work on that branding and that promotion. So assisting with their newsletter, helping to basically think about what would be an effective way to communicate with some of their donor base, social media content creation, if you like to be creative, if you like to create really interesting flyers and images and tweets and Facebook posts and things like that to help promote this type of organization. This could be really interesting to you. Blog writing, so choosing a variety of topics in the news and things that would be relevant for the company to actually write about, put on their website. And then the last one is actually helping to plan marketing campaigns. So full scale initiatives, not just a single post, but meeting with the marketing manager to think about, okay, how do we plan a 2-month long social campaign that's going to drive this particular topic or this particular issue? So that's a pretty unique one. And the last example out of Vietnam is called the Lin Center for Community Development. They are an NGO that helps to alleviate poverty and bring sustainable development to different regions of Vietnam. Similar to Cambodia, it is a country where there still is a lot of rural villages that are really kind of underrepresented. So they're looking for a program intern that would be involved in a few different topics and projects. The first is to, again, database management, working with some of the volunteers on the ground to kind of discuss with them different planning for the events, the community events, the fundraising events. So you're actually helping to plan what's going to be going on the ground in their different communities. And another point would be grant writing. So any type of nonprofit, any type of organization that does not work for profit needs money to operate. And they get that money through usually two main things: donors and then grants. So grants from the government or grants from larger organizations. So that's a pretty common theme in a lot of these policy and nonprofit type internships, is learning about grants, researching suitable grants, and then working with the team to actually put together a winning grant application, because some of these are incredibly competitive. And you would get to learn about how do these organizations seek out grants that they'll actually have a shot at winning, and put together a full proposal that will enable them to secure that funding to basically further their initiatives. So those are our 5 examples within the fields of the kind of global policy, nonprofit, NGO, international development. So I now actually want to bring Andrew back in, now that we've explained our examples and our background, to see about any questions, and we will have Andrew take it now.
Thank you, Tyler. I appreciate sharing with us a little more about the program. Note as well that, as Tyler mentioned, these are just a couple examples of some opportunities. Obviously, there's a lot more organizations and companies that they work with, throughout Asia. And so if a particular opportunity you didn't see there that kind of matches your specific career goals, don't worry. That's kind of what the whole internship placement process is about, in order to make sure they can find, something that meets kind of what your interests are. So before we move on to questions, I'm going to stop the recording here, and then we'll kind of open it up. So give you an opportunity to ask anything that might be on your mind.